G'day mate, and welcome back to Factorio with me, Jetty. Welcome to episode 24½, the last episode actually of this series. Yep, that's right, it's going to end, and that sound should tell you exactly why it's ended. Not the biters attacking down here, but actually the infinite research completing up here. Because this base had a simple goal, okay? The idea was to launch a rocket as fast as possible. At the same time, give us a good scaled base to move on to the next series. Now, the next series I'm going to tell you about in a moment. I figure, being the last episode of this series, we should take a step back, walk back through memory lane to not only recap what happened this week, but also recap what happened in this whole series up until this point. So, we started over here with an itty-bitty burner city. Bit of coal, bit of iron, bit of copper, and that's where it all started. From there, we used these mining drones, mining depots, as soon as we could to get our little mini miner army out and started producing heaps of iron. Like iron and copper, like really got the base up and running. So from there, we started producing more miner drones because we're going to need more miner drones to expand. On top of that, we started building the basics of the base. Now, this is a different style of series for me. Normally, I build everything on the fly. I have no blueprints whatsoever. I just make everything up as I go. This series, I incorporated blueprints. I brought over bits and pieces from previous saves. And because of that, I've actually, in the description, have JD's Spaghetti Cookbook down the description. It's my blueprint book. It contains all the blueprints I used in this series. Plus, it's actually an updated link. I've thrown in a couple of extra ones, okay? A couple of extra ones that we've been working on over the last week to, help you guys out. Anyway, this is where we really started. We started with a plain, simple gear build, just so we get gears on the bus. Gears on the bus is something I've always been against for a very long time, until I really started mega basing more often, and I realized that I could turn 2 belts of iron into 1 belt of gears, which gives me compression. On top of that, it means when I actually get to gears itself and I start adding productivity modules, I'm just moduling one area, not like 3 of them or 4 of them all over the base. So just simplifies things going forward to a bigger base later on. Then we have green circuit production. Green circuit production, again, blueprint, stamped it right down. It's expanded a few times since. It's been upgraded a few times since. It now has modules all the way through it, but simple blueprint got us up and started. Then I have my warehouse. Now my warehouse or workshop, all depends on what mood I'm in, I guess. It's something, again, up until the last series, the Bite of Hell series, I'd never blueprinted one and taken it from save to another. So I've always hand-built this particular build. Consequently, it's been hand-built so many times that I'm actually really proud with the way it came out. Using storage boxes, because you get storage boxes before you get requester boxes, to pull in old yellow belt to upgrade it to red belt, to pull in old red belt to upgrade it to blue belt, all that sort of stuff. Just little tricks I've picked up along the way that I use to make sure I can sort of make something that works and it's repeatable, and it even works, doesn't matter what technology level you have. Like building a workshop or a warehouse or whatever you want to call it right at the end of the game when you have all the tech is really easy, but building one for early game is really hard. Even the one that I blueprinted down, which was taken from late game, had some issues because it was designed for red belt, and I obviously didn't have red belt unlocked, and more importantly, I didn't have red belt automated. I had yellow belt automated, but not red. So it took some tweaking, but we got it down. Obviously, the blueprint that's the blueprint that's now down in the description is the final blueprint. So it's designed for, it's designed. There's an early base one, a late game one. So it is designed for yellow belt right from the get-go, and then the later one's designed for red belt, because honestly, you don't need to put blue belt on this thing. It's not going to run fast enough. There's all these assemblers just run at single speed. It's really not worth it. So, hi Rocket. So yeah, this is up and running. We got this pasted down. Obviously, it needed to be pasted over itself 4 or 5 or 10 times because we kept unlocking new recipes. So yeah, we got that down. Then we have our red and green sights. Now, red and green sights, originally, even though I had gears on the belt, I put down a blueprint that had gears in it, and we were making gears on site. As soon as we started putting in modules and other things, Well, putting in, getting the gears up and running faster, because I didn't really have enough iron to run those gears to start with. I end up removing these extra gear machines, and now it just runs. It's all self-fed off, gears up to here, and into yellow slow inserters, slow crappy inserters, which, don't get me wrong, actually for most of the game you just use slow crappy inserters. They actually work really, really well. So yeah, we have red and green science, which leads straight into our labs, which of course, as the game has progressed, has had more belts feeding in, along with being upgraded to be full of productivity modules. So hopefully things get researched a little bit faster. Then we have our military build. Again, just fed the belt straight in. This was blueprinted down because I have a blueprint. So why not? It made building this so much quicker and so much easier. Just had to feed the right belts in the bottom. And obviously in the case of like stone brick, actually make a stone brick smelter. But put in the right belts, away it went. Then we moved up to our engine build. Needed engines for chemical science, along with red circuits. Again, red circuits has I have had a blueprint. This has been a build that I've done. I honestly can't tell you how many times I've built this build. Again, it's something I'd never blueprinted in the past. I'd finally blueprinted it in the previous game, and I carried it forward, mainly because it hadn't changed in the last 3 or 4 series. I've got to the point where I'm like, this is as good as it's going to get. This expands well from early game to late game. So there's no reason to change it. The only thing this particular red circuit build doesn't do is it doesn't really take beacons. Not terribly well. It does, but it doesn't. So yeah, it definitely has a fault, and I could fix it, but honestly, it's not really worth moduling. Green circuits is, and that's why it can be moduled, but red circuits not so much. Then we come on to chemical science. Chemical science, again, same story. No blueprint here. I just built this straight because it's not complicated. It's really not complicated. Sure. Put down a whole bunch of assemblers, set all the recipes, and off it goes. It's got red circuits, it's got sulfur, it's got engines. I just put down an engine build. I just put it down a red circuit build. I put down one chem plant making sulfur, putting on a belt, one side of a belt at that. It's not even double-sided. Ran it all the way down here. Done. Dusted. Nothing to worry about. Then over here we have our robot frame build. Again, this was blueprinted just because it was just quicker, honestly. That's what it really comes down to. It was quicker to blueprint than it was to make to memorize it and put back down. But again, it's the exact same engine build that I have here, pasted over here. It has only been changed by, I've had to add electric engines, obviously, to make robot frames. Put down a robot frame build in the middle, which has like 2 of the components that are already available here. Add steel, add batteries, and steel's already used like right here. So it's like really, really easy to do. It's a really easy build. Had to add on the end because this is not part of the blueprint, because that's as far as I'm concerned, a personal choice on Logi bots and construction bots, which never got upgraded to passive provider chests and also didn't get uncapped. So we'll do a bit of that right now. Same time. I leave these guys as slow inserters because I really don't want to be putting into the roboports terribly fast. But I am happy to fill up boxes reasonably quickly because these take half a second to craft. They're not a long crafting time. Anyway, yeah, our robot frame build, which is like really overbuilt. It's overbuilt and then overbuilt some more. The reason it's overbuilt by so much is I want to have a situation where I can always have robots available. And I also siphon off this and bring it down to, ignore the lasers, they're a temporary add-on. You can tell. That's Jetty Spaghetti. That's Jetty Blueprint. Anyway, brought down the robot frames and actually passed them up to high-tech science, wherever the hell that is. Here. Although, is it still called high-tech science? The devs keep renaming it. Utility science. There we go. So over here we have purple science. I think this is a blueprint. Yeah, this is a blueprint. Again, we have electric furnaces, we have productivity modules, and then we have the purple science build itself. I don't think these two are part of the blueprint. Just having furnaces on the end and productivity modules just makes it easier later on in the game when you start requesting them and you want to start making, furnace builds that have modules in them, so that sort of stuff. So yeah, they're already built, so we might as well just siphon off this build. It's why it's slightly overbuilt. I only think I need 2 machines, but it's overbuilt to give me a little bit of spare. And then we have our utility science, it's now called. So utility science, again, dumped down with a blueprint. It is a whole bunch of low density structures. Low density structures, that's that one. And then utility science itself, it just needs to have fed into it the robot frames and blue circuits, which again was a blueprint. Really, really easy. Like 2 belts of red circuits. Really, it's the same belt, like just split twice, but or 2 separate belts off your bus, whatever you decide. And 2 belts of green circuits because these things chew green circuits. Now, you can always run another belt of green circuits up the outside and also feed that in, or you could put half a belt of green circuits with each one of these belts of red circuits, either or, just to have a few more green circuits in here. Currently it's not running because I'm out of acid for some reason. We'll just upgrade planar you guys to give you speed mods 3s. Then we go on to accumulators and solar panels. I have 2,000 in here. Providing my batteries improve, providing my acid improves, yeah. The acid build needs probably just doubling, to be honest. So yeah, we have, as I said, solar panels and accumulators, mainly because we're going to be going in the next series up to a gigabase, so we're going to want a little bit of solar panel to probably power to help us along. Then we have rocket control units. Rocket control units, I don't remember if this is a blueprint. Like, I know solar panel and accumulators aren't, because like it's a dead easy build. You just belt of green circuits, a belt of half copper, half steel done, half iron, half batteries done. Have them both output, filter inserters on the end. Bob's your uncle, you're done. We got rocket control units. Rocket control units are used for like nukes, rocket silos. It's really about it. So yeah, this is just tagged on the end with a very, very large, well, it's a very, very large, very, very long build because they take 30 seconds to craft. On top of that, rocket control units are, low density structures are actually worse because I'm using them for science as well, and siphoning some off for the rocket silo. And I'm just collecting some speed modules here to boost our speed module build. So right at the end of the bus, I have basically the builds for modules, and they're just chewing up whatever's left on the bus. So if there's any extra sorry, I just realized that they could exist in the network and there's none. Okay, cool. So yeah, if there's any extra green circuits, red circuits, or blue circuits left over, these guys just basically eat whatever's left. That's their sole goal in life, to produce a crap ton of modules for us. We have module. We have 287 speed modules in stock with 0 productivity modules, so I'm guessing I spent them all, and a couple of efficiency modules. The efficiency modules are actually used for a separate mod, Factorio Extended, which again we're not playing with in this series, we will be playing with in the next series. So that pretty much brought us to the end of the bus. Now, I do have the roboports continuing past there because I've built the great laser wall of keep the friends out and keep them away from the nuclear power, because I learnt from my last series, do not let the biters come cut all your nuclear power. It tends to lead to bad things, and I've basically cordoned off this whole area here for nuclear power because I have a feeling we're going to need it eventually over time, and probably more than that, realistically. So we'll see how things go. As for the left-hand side of the base, so left-hand side of the base, we have our smelters, obviously. Past our smelters, we have steam power. We have just a tiny itty-bitty bit of steam power. Because obviously I didn't have nuclear up and running, and I didn't have solar up and running at that stage. We put down a few tanks of steam, well, a few steam engines, just a few, running off this miner and this miner, and it turns out I have 2 free coal belts here. And then we put down a few more running off a whole separate patch of coal, because I was not confident that those 2 miners could keep up. And it's running just a little bit more power for us, just a tiny itsy bitsy bit. On top of that, we have, if we're coming through here, we come onto our oil build. Our oil build even though I built it really large right at the start and planned for modules, I didn't plan for enough modules, is probably the best way of putting it. So it sort of became, well, I didn't plan for it to be big enough. So it sort of became a little bit bigger as the game progressed. And is probably still not big enough, and has actually held up on heavy oil currently, and light oil, and basically petroleum. It's basically backed up on everything. It's doing great. So yeah, this became our oil build. It's been expanded. It's had a whole row of beacons put either side of it to make it run as fast as possible. It's also doing our nuclear fuel and also our acid and batteries. I already worked out that the acid build's not keeping up between all the blue circuits. It looks like it's keeping up now. All the blue circuits we're making, plus the whole heap of batteries we're making. I ran out. Hang on. You guys can go away. Power poles on the outside for reasons. We'll assume they're good reasons. And we'll just paste that there. We'll rip up those. We'll copy those. And I'll rotate it twice and paste them down. That way they ask for modules and we'll get modules right as modules arrive in my inventory. Fine. Whatever. So yeah, this... Oh, that's right. I ran out of small power poles finally. Upgrade those. Upgrade those. Yeah, I'm using upgrade planner to just do the power poles. Like, yeah. So yeah, this is our little battery build, which I'm just adding prod mods to, so we hopefully don't use quite as much acid. We've got a little explosive build over here, really not doing a whole lot. We did have to grab some uranium, obviously, to get the Covarex process up and running. This is my belt-fed Covarex process that can take beacons and did have beacons along the outside, and I've since removed them. Do you make it better or worse? No, that one's meant to be yellow belt. Yeah, that one's meant to be yellow belt. No, you're meant to come in one tile further away. Cool. You have them. Okay, so this is my Covarex build, which just pulls from, well, outputs to the far side and then gathers. We can see it right here. Like, this is outputting and it's gathering back in, and then the excess goes around and gets pushed back into a single lane, and whatever doesn't go through the loop ends up getting put into this little chest and then brought back out on a loader. These are loaders. They're like tiny itty bitty inserters that can fill the whole belt. So it's a red one, so it does the belt at 30 items per second. Anyway, it's making our nuclear fuel. We've obviously got uranium processing, and then we got our plastic build, our primary plastic build down here, which has been slightly increased from our other primary plastic build, which has been slightly doubled up with a couple of extra plastic builds. The reason is, this was the main thing we're actually working on this week. This week we did just small alterations, just doing a tiny little bit of few extra things. One being modules, and I actually want you to do productivity modules, please. And you're going to do productivity modules, and you, my friend, are also going to do productivity modules, which means I need to clear some belts. So yeah, we did a tiny few little bit of upgrades. I spent the week basically throwing these into those machines and those into those machines. They'll keep you busy for a while. Spent the week basically working out how to make a crap ton of modules a whole bunch faster. So we've got a couple of these mining drone platforms just spitting out lots of mini-me's to grab all the copper in the world. We've got a couple on the other side of our red circuit build. These guys are pretty smart. They will mine underneath belts, underneath machines, all that sort of stuff. We did have them on this side trying to go across. Bad things happened. It really didn't work. I don't know why. It just didn't work. So we end up putting them on this side and running the belts all the way up and over and back down. Anyway, We got these guys doing a crap ton of iron and copper, which gives us a crap ton of iron and copper plate, which we are very, very quickly using a max 12 beacon-ish setup, making green circuits as fast as possible. Each one of these has 2 red belts of has a red belt of iron and copper in to basically produce, if we bring up max rate calculator, bring in 11 in to get 15 out. So after I put in 3 red belts of one red belt of iron and copper, it actually gives me, because of the 40% bonus in productivity, a full blue belt of green circuits out. So yeah, don't underestimate the power of productivity modules, ever. So these builds are giving me a whole bunch of green circuits. The green circuits, obviously, we're turning into red circuits and blue circuits and making a crap ton of modules. As you can see, we're doing like 17 modules per second, along with like 3 of the productivity modules per minute. Sorry, not per second. Now, I know I'm running a slightly old version of Factorio. I know that. I tried to update. I had a couple of issues with the mods. I'm basically waiting for the mods to update. We're so close to the end. So look, we're just going to ride this out with 18.12, and then I'll update to the latest version when the new series starts, which is tomorrow. So yeah, we're doing like 20 modules per minute, which is pretty good. Obviously, I want more. Always want more. More is always better. In fact, Alright, I'm going to come back to that problem. Because in theory, maybe I'm not going to come back to that problem. Maybe I'm going to do it right now. In theory, that merges both belts together and splits them both back out. So now these two now have a two-lane balancer. A two-lane balancer. I know it looks weird. Don't question it. It's fine. So yeah, we basically worked out a way to have, all we need is iron and copper, and a careful bit of blueprinting, and some source of oil nearby, or we can bring in the plastic, and we can dump down one of these builds, which will produce 20 modules per minute, which is not a vast amount, but it's enough. It's enough to keep the lights on. It's enough to keep the base moving, and definitely better than nothing. Of course, we'll also need acid. Obviously, a whole bunch more acid than what we're producing, because that tank is still saying 0. Oh, half those didn't have modules in them because, yeah. Cool, that makes me feel a little bit better. Okay, so next episode, I have to work out how to, well, I don't have to work out, I need to rebuild that. No, we're out of petroleum. Which is because we're out of productivity modules. Yes. No, we're out of cracking. Okay, I need more cracking. Alright, so, problems for next episode. Anyway, that pretty much winds up this series. So, this is where the base stands currently. Obviously, it's going to have more improvements to it. Well, not really. It's going to have some tweaks to it, so it's finalized. Probably oil needs to be checked over once. And then we can walk away and we're going to leave this running. So, what does that mean? It means we're going to be starting a new series tomorrow, basically. The new series is going to take this base, roll it into the new base, or into the new series. We're going to use the output of this base to start the subscriber special. Now, like I said, it's still the working name. It does have a better name, but I've been referring to it all the way up until now as the subscriber special, so I'm going to keep doing that for a little while. Well, up until it starts, and then at which point it'll get its own name, and then everything will be happy, and then we'll all be on the same page. Anyway, what we have is we have a couple of extra researches that I haven't really covered during this series at all. One of them is Factorio Extended, which I covered, well, I played with the last series. So Factorio Extended gives me, well, I haven't done any of the research. What's the one that unlocks all the research for me? No idea. Because I normally don't pay that much attention. I just go through and click whatever's next in the list. I honestly don't know. Okay, we're going to find out later. But we have Factorio Extended, which gives us 2 extra tiers for all belts and all assemblies. So that gives us purple belts, which move 60 items, no, green belts, which move 60 items per minute, and purple belts, which move 75 items per minute. It gives us an assembler Mark 4 and Mark 5. It gives us a chemical plant Mark 2 and Mark 3, along with a refinery Mark 2 and Mark 3. So basically gives us a whole bunch more production, like a lot more production. On top of that, we have Train Supply Manager, which I will be playing with single player, so I'll be able to go through and explain to you guys how it works. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about Train Supply Manager. And all I can tell you is, in my personal opinion, it beats Logistics Train Network for dead. So yeah, we'll be using Train Supply Manager. I did have it installed last game, but I didn't really have a chance to play with it. Not with the biters bearing down on me constantly. So we have that one installed as well. On top of that, you might notice this one with all these really cool icons. That's SpaceX. So SpaceX is a mod that's been around since like version 12-ish. 13, 14, well before we had Infinite Tech. Back when you launched a rocket and that was it, congratulations, good game, you were done. And the biggest base might do, like the biggest, most optimized base might do 1 rocket per minute. Now, I did a series not so long ago doing 15 rockets per minute. So Factorio has been optimized and computers have been up, computers have got better in the last 6 years or so. That now you can do 15 rockets per minute and still maintain a 60-60-ish FPS and UPS. Back then, you'd be struggling to get 1 rocket per minute out and still maintain 60 UPS. It was really, really, really difficult. So, SpaceX was a good alternative. It gave you something that was harder to do. One, the tech is like fairly expensive, 200,000 science packs, 14,000 science packs, 12,000 science packs. Even like the very first one's just red science, it's 200,000 of it. It's just going to take you a little while to get done. So yeah, 1, really expensive to research. 2, requires some fairly expensive components. And 3, it's a 3-stage mod. So when we open SpaceX here, it has 3 stages to the mod. It has the satellite network, which you need to build, which makes sure you don't crash one thing into another in space. Second thing you need to build is the space assembly with a dry dock, structural component and dry dock assembly component. So a couple of those together in space lets you build a dry dock in space for you to then make a spaceship. And we're going to be launching spaceships to space. So not a rocket for every single one of you guys that has clicked subscribe. And if you've watched 28 minutes into this video, you definitely should have clicked the subscribe button by now, because every single person that clicks the subscribe button has already clicked the subscribe button, is making me or forcing me to launch another spaceship. Like I said, the first stage is like 9 rockets or something, 7 rockets. It's pretty cheap, nothing too much to worry about. Second stage is, from memory, it's another 8 or 9 rockets. I'm not sure entirely. And then the last stage requires one of each of these at least one of each of these rocket components. Like that's a fusion, space thrusters. Like you need at least 4 thrusters on a rocket. So there's 1, 2, 3, 7. Fuel cell 8, habitation 9, life support 10, command 11, astrometrics 12, a fast and light engine 13, although I have a feeling there's more than one casting. I think there's a few of them. So I think it's like 30 rockets or so to launch 1 spaceship. And I'm launching 1 spaceship per subscriber. So the best base I've ever built did 15 rockets per minute. So that means if I can do 30 odd rockets per minute, I could probably get 2 spaceships up per 2 minutes. In saying that, like some of the parts fairly expensive, like whoever mass produces portable fusion reactors? Well, the answer is I will be doing that. Whoever mass produces like speed modules at 50 per 2 minutes, because that's what I just said. I'd have to get all the components ready and launched every 2 minutes. Or the final one, which requires you to just like... Normally when I do a SpaceX run, when I get to this part, I've already pre-built the efficiency modules. I get everything else done, and then I rip up parts of the base until I get the speed modules and the productivity modules, and then I launch that. I have actually done a SpaceX run in the past. I actually linked that up in the top corner. It was back in like version 15, I want to say. Maybe it was 16, a long time ago. So yeah, if you want to have a look and a feel of what SpaceX is like, that series covers it pretty well. So it's going to be a little bit expensive to get this mod done, and it's going to be a little bit expensive for every single one of you guys that has clicked the subscribe button, and every single person that does click subscribe whilst the series is running. Yes, I'm not just taking a final count at the first episode, it's going to be an ongoing count. So every single person, every single new subscriber, right from the start to when the series ends, is going to add to the list, which means it could get expensive really quick. Well, it could end up being a very long series as well. So yeah, there's that in there too. So with that said, that's sort of the idea, that's sort of the plan, that's the direction we're going. And I'm going to call it here for this episode. Thank you guys so much for joining me for Rocket Rush. It's been a ball. It's been wonderful. Special thanks to the Patreon, or the new people, every single new person that's come along and clicked subscribe in the last month. You guys are awesome. Thank you to everybody who's come and joined my Discord. Again, you guys are awesome. It's been so much fun interacting with all these new faces on Discord. Lastly, big thank you to my Twitch subscribers and my Patreon members. I've had a bunch of new people come and support the channel in the last month as well. You guys are awesome. I know you guys have been like... You guys have said some nice things about this series. You guys have said some horrible things about this series. But more importantly, you've also been able to be my quality control, and you get to watch all the episodes a week in advance and tell me when I've screwed things up, because there has been some issues with me having the wrong file names and all sorts of different things. But you guys are quality control, so you get to look at that stuff in advance and tell me about it. And also, yeah, watch the episodes when they come out. Well, a week before they come out. Potentially up to a week. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. Thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed. I'll see you tomorrow in the... It's not going to be called Subscriber Special, but it's the Subscriber Special series. Anyway, that's it. I'm out. Thanks for watching. Bye.